All of you lovely zero concurrent people. Hello, hello. Good day, good afternoon, good morning. The cat's getting on the counter and he's being yelled at for it. So, we are doing this, and we started, or left off rather, right at this function where we want to just transfer the cartridge from the player's pockets and heads-up display into the magazine. So to do that, we're appending the cartridge to the array, so we just keep track of what's in there. So this is a reference to that node being stored in the array. And then we add the cartridge to ourselves, to the magazine, because this is the magazine's code. And then we're going to set its transform to the spot where we want the cartridge to go into the magazine. And that is yet to be determined. So let's set that up right now. All right. So let's bring in a cartridge for the moment. So let's look in the cartridge folder. And let's grab an instance of the cartridge. Just plunk it in here. That's facing the wrong way. That's fine. Right, we want its angle of rotation to roughly match. Now let's change our transform to not be in local space. There we go. Looks about right. And then the spot where it is going to enter. Now imagine there's already a cartridge in here as well. Right? Duplicate it. So we're going to start putting it in here, like let's say right there. So then let's make a position node. And call it entry position. And then let's top level that. And then we can get rid of these nodes. Boom. Now we have a position that correctly represents where we want the cartridge to enter the magazine. So I'm going to worry about stretching the spring a little bit later. We'll figure that out when we get there. Right now, I just want save. Now we don't need to worry about this, so we can just reference it directly by name. There we go. And it's not going to be seeded yet, so it's not going to be seeded until it's in the magazine. Now, we also need this guy to be registered for this ask for cartridge signal. So let's look at the player. Here we go. Connect, ask for cartridge. And we're going to want another one of these for the magazine. So if we go to the magazine, now this is going to be tricky. Because we don't know which magazine is asking for cartridge, if you see what I'm saying, right? So how do we want to represent that? So if we look here at the magazine, so let's do a little reading quick about Godot's signals. We can maybe do it with an argument, right? Because here in the magazine, it's going to have a signal called ask for cartridge, right? And if we look at the gun 38 special, or 357, there we go. We look at the signal that it asks for cartridge. Now, ask for cartridge. I think that works. That seems reasonable, right? And then if we look at the player script, then we've got on magazine ask for cartridge. That seems reasonable. Let's see if it works. So here's our magazine. And here's a cartridge. Oh yeah. Uh-oh. Well, we've created a monster now. We put the magazine inside the magazine. Oops. Oops. I see the problem. I see the problem. But you can yes, add cartridges. There you go. Yeah. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Boom. Okay. I like that we managed to upside down this guy. That's pretty funny. Okay. So I think we may be able to fix that problem if we just look at the magazine, inspect collision, and say it is not a cartridge. Let's see if that fixes that. Okay. Oh, it doesn't let us drag it then. See what I mean? Okay. Where are we specifying that? On cartridge input event, right here, start drag 2D. Now, how are we specifying that? Can it just not be clicked on if it doesn't belong to any layer? Right? Like, what if we just put it on layer 9, just for sake of the argument? Now, that's not going to be the solution, but I'm just curious. Is that what we're running into? Oh, maybe. Hang on, right? So we take it off. It's not draggable. Yeah, it needs to be on a layer for it to be draggable. Okay, what are my layers? Player, environment, cartridge, pickups, interact. I could add a layer 6. And we can make it the magazine layer. Like, we have plenty. Layer names. Okay. Call layer 6 generic draggable. General draggable pocket item. Did that save? Sure. Alright. Because you can imagine eventually us putting other stuff in the pockets, right? Like, I don't know, binoculars or a map, a compass, who knows, right? A key. And we're going to want those to be able to accept click events, but we don't want you to be able to try to stuff those into magazines, so there should be a special layer for cartridges. Like that, alright. Oh, I put it in the wrong magazine. There you go. So, excuse me. We want to disconnect, because right now it's still, you can see, it's still accepting the click events, although it's rotated on a different axis, right? But there's still, that's kind of cool actually. They're still accepting drag events from the player's pockets, and we don't want that. So we want to disconnect that listener and swap it out for a new listener on the magazine, which will handle the drag logic. Yeah. But this feels pretty good. Hang on, let's wait for this just to come along. Here we go. Yeah, I mean, that feels right. Haha, that's pretty cool. Alright. So, this is what we want to do next. So we want to disconnect the listener when we hand off the cartridge to the magazine. And then the magazine code and then let's go look at the cartridge connections here. Right. And what that should do now is when we transfer the cartridge to the magazine, like this, we shouldn't be able to move it anymore. We can move the magazine, but we can't move the cartridge. And that's exactly what we're wanting. Look at that. That feels pretty smooth, putting that in there. Alright. Alright. So, now we want a new drag listener in the magazine that lets us take this cartridge from here down to the lip in a downward motion. And eventually, we're going to want the follower to move down with it. But we'll get there. Right. Right. First, one thing at a time. So what we want to do, for starters, is make it that now, if we click and drag on this cartridge and pull it down, it goes down to a new position. So we're going to make it a new one-dimensional slider in that axis. And then once it hits the bottom of that slider, it's going to trip an a new block of code, and it's going to become a new slider going in the other direction. That's the thought, anyway. Because now I have the right firearm with me to demonstrate this. Right, so let's say this is our bullet in our magazine, right? So the thinking is, here, let's empty these bad boys out of here. Otherwise, this is going to get hard to do, holding it up to the camera with the really stiff spring at the top of the camera situation. I wonder if I can bring this camera down here. Sure I can. That works alright, doesn't it? That's kind of cool, huh? Alright. Great, great. So here's our magazine, right? Keep popping these out of here. Oops, literally. There's the last one. Right there. Alright. So, we're going to put this little guy into here. And to do that, right, there's a lip right here. It's kind of hard to see it without a lighter colored backdrop, you know? But you can see these are the lips of the magazine. Right there. You can see there's like a step down, just like in our game. And then that's the follower that we're pushing on right there. Right. So, when we load these for real, we have the cartridge right near the front there. We have to depress the follower, right? We need to push that guy down to make room for him. So we put him in here and we push down first, right? So there he's down, and then we need to slide him back. So down. It's hard to do it and still let the camera see it, right? Down and then back. There we go. And then if we do that again, same thing, but we need to push down on the other round. It's really hard to do this and let the camera see without wrapping my finger around it. There we go. Down, right? And then pushing it backwards. Alright. The other thing we can do is we can push down with our thumb. That's what I normally do. Give us a little head start. There we go. Right. But you see it's a down, down, and then in motion. And that's what we're trying to replicate. Down and in the game. So, that's kind of cool. I like that idea of moving the camera. Fun, fun. Alright. So. So what we want to have happen is we want to now be able to click and drag on this cartridge and pull it down to the point where it's under these feed lips. And then we're going to change the direction of the slide from this axis to the other axis. So it's going to be a 2-slide operation, down and in. Out of coffee. That's fixable. We got a little more in the pot. Alright. So, we're doing a stop drag at this point. So now, let's take this kind of idea over to the magazine. So when you give the cartridge a magazine, so magazine.give cartridge, right? Now, there's going to be more. There we go. So we need a start and end position argument here. So that's where we go over here. We're going to create some positions. So this is cartridge entry position. Let's and that's fine. Let's duplicate this and call it cartridge I think we need to call this cartridge lip. I feel this is really dirty. What else can we call it? We need a term for the position where the cartridge is right here, where it's right on the cusp of entering the feed lips, right? Right, because that's going to be the position we want to demarcate, and then that is the other end of that slider, right? What's a good word for this? What's a good descriptor? So cartridge entry position, great. I could just call it cartridge loading midpoint. That's pretty sterile. Let's cancel out the rotation. We don't need any rotation on this thing. Now, instead of calling this negative, right, we could also call this I guess that makes sense because it's the opposite. It goes, once you get past 180, it makes sense to flip it around to negative, I suppose, so that's fine. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And then once going the other way, if you're pulling a cartridge out of the magazine, once it passes the cartridge loading midpoint, it's now free of the feed lips, and it'll actually pop itself out, right? So I think that word works fine. I like that great. So now this we want to have be down, and if we add a cartridge to this, and then we rotate it, that amount. That's fine. Right, you see how we're going with this. We want it to come down to like right here. Right where it makes contact with the bottom of that edge of the magazine. Something like that. Right. Now, was I just moving the... I was, wasn't I? I am. This is the thing I wanted to move, actually. So... well, nope. Somewhere between those 2 points. That'll do, I suppose. Now, I want these to be... oh, no, just kidding. That's perfect where it was. There we go. Okay. Great. And then we can get rid of this. Okay, but we've got the position correctly marked. Okay. So, save that and look at the script. So, we need start position, end position. So the start position is card tree entry position. Now, is it expecting position nodes here, or is it expecting... hang on, let's look at the drag code. Or let's even just look at our... yeah, it's literally expecting the nodes. So, we can just say... cartridge loading midpoint. Okay. Great. Now we could just call it entry position, but then it's a little confusing if we're talking about the magazine entry position, you know, so it's cartridge entry position, cartridge loading midpoint. Perfect. All right. So, that's not going to do anything until we put a drag motion 1D on the cartridge, right? Yeah. Alright. Well, we could just double up on that, and that should be fine. What does the drag motion 1D event give it? Percent travel is what we get. Yeah, we should make a separate event for this. So, cartridge. Oh wait, wrong cartridge. All right. Gotta be, right? I think that's fine. So then, we're over here. And we want to connect a listener. So let's look at the player code for how we do that. I'm just going to copy the example. Now that's to disconnect it, but we're going to just switch that to connect. Now, we may end up with some interesting flags that we need to set here so that we can handle both removing a round from the magazine and adding a round to the magazine. But we'll get there. We'll get there. So, the first thing that we want to do here there you go. Yeah. Is wait, it tells me, okay, it tells me that in a couple spots. I was just curious how long we've been working on this, and it says 47 minutes. There you go. I give cartridge connect Okay, on cartridge, drag 1D. So now we want to create a function for that. Okay. So now here's the trick. We're going to have two sliders upon which those cartridges can run. Two rails. The up and down slider for just depressing the follower, right? Just like this. Right? And then the in and out slider for popping them out of there, you know, in this direction. And so those two different, that like 90-degree angle train tracks, we're going to have some flags in place for whether, or which section of track the cartridge is currently on, if that kind of makes sense. Okay. So we could have okay. Did I spell horizontally correctly? Probably not. Yeah, two L's. Alright. I can spell. Alright. Bam. Mm-hmm. We say match, not switch, in GDScript. Alright. So, from here, let's look at this guy and then compare it with the... Let's look at the cylinder, actually. And then let's look at the... Here we go. Hmm. Right, hang on. Let's open the model for the Smith & Wesson. Okay, so within the cylinder, there's the crane. Oh, okay, hold on. So really, okay, so within, okay, here we go. Nah. Cylinder. Okay, the cylinder is on the crane. Right. Extractor. Okay. Sure. Okay, that makes some sense. We're going to copy that as an example. Now, so total slider length meters equals the big number minus the small number. So I think this is going to be the now what's the, this is a good question. This is going to be the y dimension. So okay. And then we're going to say the cartridge transform origin y equals cartridge transform origin y plus, and that's fine. And then we're going to clamp that. Right. Right. Now we could just set these as on-ready vars or something even. So, and we can do that. And we could even just make this called once. There we go. And then this is going to be I think to say clamp, we say min and then max. Let's try to see if it'll get, there you go. Min max, yep. Cool. So I think this might work. Maybe. Possibly. Let's try it. Okay. It worked for a second, and we could have tried it with the other magazine, but oh well. Yeah, we might get into weird situations here if you try to load one partially and then load another one on top of it. Oh, the axes are inverted. Okay. But otherwise that works lovely. Okay, how are we going to fix that? What do we do? Minus? That may work. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that. That's a thing of beauty right there. Oh, you love to see it. Now we can't pick it back up. So that's a problem. How are we going to fix that? Well, sir. I think that's easy. We just have to listen to the cartridges on click, right? And the player already does that, so we just have to mimic the same kind of thing. Now, we're going to have to kind of guess, and this might be tricky. We're going to have to guess what the current slider condition is, but we can just probably read it from the thing, right? So if we look at the player, say on cartridge, input event, and then we start the drag, right? Easy. Oops. There we go. On cartridge input event. Okay. Alright, and we're going to do this. Righto. Right. Did that save? I don't know if that saved. Alright. Now it did. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now, it's not letting us start a new drag on it, so that's not working. That is not working. Probably because we're not registering with that connect. Like here. Sounds like it's kitty dinner time up there. Alright. Just have to do that because it's fun. So now we can release it and then pick it back up. We can get very detailed with this if we want, but we'll take this one thing at a time. But that's looking pretty good. I'm digging that. I'm digging that. That'd make a nice thumbnail. Should take a screenshot of that. Maybe all of these things are under Windows. I don't know why it doesn't let me type. Oh, well, there's Paint. There we go. I don't know why Godot just always monopolizes the thing, but that's fine. That's plenty good. We're kind of getting that image secondhand out of Godot. I mean, OBS, but that's fine. So, now, when it bottoms out, when it hits the bottom of that travel, we need to switch it to horizontal. And maybe kick it a little bit inwards, because otherwise what we may run into is when we write the logic to allow for removing the cartridge out the other way, we might actually run into it jitters, trying to decide which way you're moving it, up and down or left and right. But, well, no, it might not matter. Let's not overcomplicate this. So, let's within a millimeter of tolerance, right? So if we duplicate this, right, we put a cartridge as its child, right, we flip it around, whatever, something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. But then we take this guy and we move him rearward kind of along that line. Right. Now we're still going to need to do a little bit of upsy downsy to get him to follow that right angle. And that angle, I believe, is where I've got 7.2 degrees, 7.28. Right. Is that fully back? I'd say so. I'd say right about there is about right. Yeah, that looks good to me. Look at that. That's actually pretty hot. I like that. Nice. Okay. So that's going to be our slider from there to here, right? Let me go ahead and delete that cartridge. But what we're going to need to do is this is going to be a diagonal motion. So it's not a very steep diagonal motion, but it is diagonal. So we need to have the cartridge move along a slope, right? And that's not too hard. So for starters, let's just copy this stuff here. But the Y component is going to be pretty small. And we can kind of make a slope. We can have a, here. We can dial this in. We can actually compute it with a little bit of geometry, right? So if we kind of blow it up and exaggerate things and say this is the top of the magazine, right? So this is this guy, right? Except it's the other way around in our game, so keep everything oriented the same way, right? So it slopes right, so here's this little cutout for you getting it started, right? And then the lips of the magazine kind of slope back like this. And then it comes back down, right? That's kind of the thought. Are very beautiful paint skills here. Cool. So now we have two positions of the cartridge, right? We have a position that represents the center of the cartridge when it's over here. And this is the midway loading point, and that represents when the cartridge has came down to like right here. Right. This doesn't have to be a perfect drawing. Boom. Okay. Lovely, lovely. Very artistic. So, this is position 1, right? Let's call it A, whatever. This point right here. So then, we have position B, which represents the cartridge when it's all the way down here, right? So this is position B. Right? So, if we exaggerate that a little bit, I have A, I have B, and I want to figure out this slope, right? Like this. So for 1 unit over in the x direction in my picture here, how much do we fall in the y direction? Right? And this is really easy because we know the numbers. We have them in our program. Right? So if we look in Godot at these positions, right? This is point A in my example, and z and y are actually our two axes. So the z position here is negative 12 millimeters, right? So this is negative we can make that font a little bigger, huh? That's fine. You can read that, you know? Negative 12 millimeters. And go back to Godot. 51 millimeters up, right? X and Y, right? And then we do the same thing over here. And we should see an X position, which in our case is actually the Z-axis, but forget about that for a second. That is a bigger number because it's further in the Z direction, pointing the wrong way. So instead of negative 12, it's actually positive 2 millimeters. Right? And it should be lower down, so they have a lower y value, and indeed it does. It has 47 millimeters, right? Great. So now, this is literally a math question, right? We want to find this slope. And the slope is going to be delta x over delta y, right? So our delta x is negative 12 all the way up to positive 2. So that's a difference of 14 millimeters in the x direction, right? And then delta y is 4, right? It's 47 up to 51, or 51 really down to 47. So it's 4 millimeters in this direction. And then we just want to say our slope is delta x over delta y, so it's 4 millimeters over 14 millimeters. And we could probably simplify that, right? But we are just going to plug it into a calculator because that's all we need to do. So 4 over 14 is 0.28. We'll say 0.286 or 57. Doesn't really matter. This doesn't have to be terribly precise, but and that is what we want. This would make a pretty cool thumbnail too. Cool. So, let's actually put that into effect. Let's use that math. So, if we go into the script here, and it's actually going to be a negative slope, right? Well, we could say plus we're going to have to compute the horizontal slider length as well in a second. Okay. And then we can say, and that we're modifying the y, that is the y-axis still. Z equals Z plus I well, this is just going to be a simple one-to-one. Because the slope is x in terms of y, or y in terms of x, so x just moves the x amount, and then y is going to move the x amount times the slope. Yeah. That's fine. So now we need to compute the horizontal stuff. Now, we're actually going to have two extremes here. But we shouldn't need to worry about that because it should be constrained by simply, well, no, we actually might want to constrain it by the other one. I think that's a good point. Right. Might we run into... We'll have to see. We'll have to see how this behaves. We might actually have to change this to be computed off the x position. Or this one. Yeah. Because that would work. Perhaps. Right, yeah, and then take this. But what we actually can do here, see what I'm saying, is we can say take its z position minus that position, and that'll make sure we only have to clamp it on the z-axis, and then the y-axis will manage itself. Okay, now we just have to plug in these values, and we'll be off to the races. And this is actually going to be yeah, that's actually right. It's kind of funny. Okay. And then horizontal slider length in meters equals horizontal max minus the horizontal min. And then this might just all work. I would be surprised if it all works the very first try, but this is going to be how we find out how it's broken. So here we go. So put it in. It's not transitioning to horizontal. See that? Alright. I need to run to the bathroom real quick. So that's where we're going to pick it back up.
you spelled Bagley right.
slide back. Oh no, I saw someone and they were here and I missed them. Alright. Alright. So, it's not transitioning to vertical. We can do this, but we can't slide it back into the magazine yet, and we should be able to, so let's add some debug statements. Having any error messages? It looks like we're having error messages. Ah. We have to disconnect first. That's a really good point. Oh, I didn't miss someone. Cool. Hello. You are my first real viewer ever. We are coding this thing. And the goal is to take our magazines in the game. Sleep is good. No worries. It's about 6 p.m. here where I am. But I'm trying to take these into the mag and then have them like slide backwards and forwards, you know? Like that kind of thing. Probably blocking it from the camera. Backwards and forwards. So, we've got it to the point where they drag down, right? So there it is. It's dragging down like that, but now we need to slide it back. 1 in the morning. Yikes. Yeah, I mean, I was up until 2, I think, on Friday. Just having a hard time falling asleep, so it do be like that sometimes. Where are you at that it's 1 in the morning? I am in Minnesota. I mean, they're pretty boring videos so far. I'm not sure if this is very good streamable content of just me fiddling with very fiddly code, but thanks for checking it out. I will make like 3-minute summaries of what I finish every week or whatever, so those are probably more consumable. Germany. Awesome. Very cool. Well, thanks for stopping by. So, it's supposed to transition from it's like a railway track that makes a 90-degree turn, right? And that's what we're trying to program. So the rail that it's following should go like this, so you can drag the cartridge into the magazine, and then it makes a 90-degree turn. Alright, like the finicky details. Glad to hear, glad to hear. 90-degree turn and it goes this way, right? So, this part is working. It's going up and down, but it's not making this corner, and that's what we need to fix. So let's just add some debug statements. So, it looks like we're actually getting an error message that says we've already registered the drag event, which is cartridge input event. It's already connected. So that's probably actually a different problem. That's going to be up here when we pass it off. So I don't think this is the cause of our current issue, but let's fix it anyway. So, no, we already are disconnecting it there. I'm wrong. I don't know why it's okay. So This is when it receives the cartridge. Oh, I wonder if the order that we call things in over here matters. Well, no, it should be good because it's disconnect and then we give the cartridge. So that, or it should be already disconnected by the time we get to that point. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Let's focus on the problem we're trying to solve here. So this is when it's dragging vertically, and this if statement is where it should turn the corner, right? So let's just log out, or print into the log, I should say, its current position. Right? So we got that. And then in here we'll put a special print statement that says cool. And then I think if I go into my OBS, I can show you the debug screen. Transform. Oh, maybe I need to bring it to the front. There we go. That worked. Alright. Professional streamer. Alright. That is our debug log right there. And I'll put the camera like that. Perfect. Alright. So now, let's see what this is going to log out for us. Because the vertical minimum, we can log that out too. Should be this right here. And it should be, the vertical minimum should be 47 millimeters. So we'll just make sure that math looks right. And why doesn't it like this? Print string plus min plus. Cool. Run it. Alright. So here's our magazine. Here's our cartridge. Okay. So it's been placed in there. So the current location you can see from this is 0.59, so 59 millimeters. And the point at which it turns the corner and starts going into the magazine instead of down and depress the follower is 51 millimeters. So then if we drag it down, it should be hitting, see that? It should be hitting that if condition. Hang on. I might have missed it go by. Let's scroll back up here. No, it didn't. See that? It never went into that if condition. So let's make sure our logic is right here. So we take the cartridge, transform origin Y, and we add 0.01 millimeters to give it a little. Oh, we want to subtract. We want to subtract to give ourselves a little cushion, right? Because we don't want it to have to be exact. We want there to be a little bit of a buffer, but we were adding instead of subtracting because I'm smart. So that's the problem, hopefully. So here's our magazine. Oh, okay, that didn't work, but we got we got it to turn the corner at least. Okay. What's happening there? Let's see. It's going the wrong way. It's going on the wrong axes when we're in horizontal mode. Let's see. So what if we get rid of the Y component for a minute and we just move it in the Z component, just to make our head hurt a little bit less. So we'll go here. And that works. See that? Cool. That's actually like just right. So it's just our Y component here that's hosed. So this should equal the well, and how do we want to do this? We actually should base it off of the starting. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. So we should base it off of the Y minimum, which is this. Plus, that's gonna actually work, I think. We're about to find out. Because the challenge here is this is what all this scribbling is about, right? We need there to be like a slope here. It's not a straight up and down slider, and it's not a straight left to right slider. It's a slope at a bit of an angle. And so to make the slider work like that, we have to just do a little geometry. The very, very simplest kind. So push it down and then in. Look at that. Oh, that feels right. Now I can't pick it back up, but that's okay. I can put another round right on top of it. So there's a lot of work yet to do, but there's two discrete steps. There's down and in to that. Uh-oh. I don't know why I can't put that one in there. Oh, maybe because it's still in horizontal mode. That's okay, we have another magazine. Down and in. Perfect. That's cool. That's cool. We're getting there. So, we've got a couple more things we need to do. Which is, we want, first of all, you want you to be able to pick it back up if it's in the horizontal position. So we're going to do that like this. We can restart the drag. We can restart the drag when it's in horizontal. And the reason we need separate logic for vertical and horizontal is because it's on like a different slider, right? Quote unquote slider. If it's going up and down than if it's going forward and backwards. So this, let's just, oh, I think I started my code with an error in it. It's going to be node instead of cartridge. I just should rename it to be cartridge everywhere, just to make my life easier. Yeah, it's never going to be anything else other than a cartridge, so we can just call it cartridge. So, there's a whole bunch of other steps we need to do here. We need to actually have the follower push down a little bit when we do this. We need to then be able to put another cartridge in there, but right now I just wanted to be able to pick it back up. You see now if I let it go and I drag something else, I can come back here and re-grab it. So that's good. So then let's make it so you can take the cartridge back out of the magazine. which we can do. Pretty easily, right? Because over here, we're just going to use the exact same logic we were using before. So now we're caring about the z position. And looking at our little picture, we care if it extends out past this point. Let's choose a different color, huh? So we're looking at the z position. So if it pushes out this way past a certain point, right, then we want it to just pop out, just like this, right? Just like, you know, taking it, popping it out. This is going to go flying. Right? We want it to pop out. So, we're going to be looking at the z position, so it's sliding this way, right? And after it crosses a certain line, we want it to pop out. So what is that line? Well, cartridge z. So first of all, the z position here is negative 12 millimeters when the cartridge is in this spot, right? So that's a pretty good place to look at. And it's going to be, the z origin is like right here. This is 0, 0, z, right? So it's going to be more negative as it goes in the left direction. So if it's less than negative 12 millimeters, that's telling us it's ready to pop out. So here, and again, we want to build a little bit of a buffer into it, so having our margin is really the word I should be using, be a minus in this case makes sense as well. And what do I want to call this? Horizontal minimum z. Yeah. Okay. Then we want to remove the cartridge from the magazine. So we actually don't have a good example of code for this anywhere else. So we're going to have to just kind of write something new here. So we could put this in a function. And how do we want to word this? Just the language of these always. So the magazine asks for a cartridge. The gun asks for a cartridge. And then you call magazine.giveCartridge. There's an event. It tells its parent, hey, I want that cartridge, when it senses that it's gotten close, right? And then you call the function magazine.giveCartridge. So what if we say function relinquish cartridge? We could say give remove cartridge. What do we want to call this? We could say give cartridge to player. Let's let's go with that for starters, and we can could say remove cartridge from magazine, whatever. So what we're going to do is basically what the player is doing, passing the cartridge off to the player, but in reverse, right? So going right here, we're going to do basically these steps. We're going to say magazine gives cartridge to player. So we're going to disconnect the cartridge input event, so we're not stepping on toes. And then we're going to say remove child cartridge. We're going to say take the array and that should remove the top or the front object from the array. And just to be sure, we could say print This is more interesting than what you're doing right now. What are you doing right now? I feel like I'm a very slow programmer, so this might be frustrating to watch from someone who's like, if their brain's moving faster than mine. Alright, just to make sure that we're cleaning up that array, because we're keeping track. The magazine has an array of all the cartridges, because like, let's say we have like a special cartridge that you'll need it if, like, I don't know, there's a certain door that you can only open with a silver bullet, right? And you've got the silver bullet as the third round in the magazine or something, right? We need to keep track of where that bullet is. And just as well keep a count, right, of how many are in there. So porting a plugin I made to Godot 4.0. Nice. What does your plugin do? And I'm using Godot 3.4, I think, right? For sure. Yeah. 3.4. That's what I'm currently using. Alright. Is this your channel here? This looks like game and animation stuff, so I could see that being the same person, or maybe I'm... Yeah, maybe. Maybe not. Basically... Nope, that's not you. Oh, shoot, sorry. I guess I could probably just click on your name in here, maybe. Porting a plugin, basically a 2D tile map editor that converts several layers into a 3D grid map. Oh, gotcha, yeah, no worries. 2D tile map editor that converts several layers into a 3D grid map. Nice. I'd have to think about that sentence for a little bit. You should send me the link to your plugin so I can check it out. Let's see. Cartridge array length, cartridge +1, pop the front. So, remove child, so now it's going to call its parent, which is hopefully the dungeon editor. Nice. Gotcha. Very cool. Do many people use it, like in editing their dungeons, or is it something that you're making like to use in your own project? Cartridge array length after giving one to the player. And then we're gonna say player or parent. Can we just reference the parent like this in Godot? It's probably a method, right? I know I've used it before. Personal project, nice. How to get the root parent? I don't want the root parent. I just want my parent. Get parent. Hey, thank you. Sweet. Oh, you know what though? I shouldn't do that. I want to do a signal, don't I? I want to do a signal. So we have a signal ask for cartridge. So we want to have a signal called give cartridge. To communicate with the parent. That's why. So here we go. Give cartridge to player. Or maybe give up cartridge, or let's just say remove cartridge, because it could, hypothetically, the parent doesn't have to be the player, I guess. Just say give cartridge. Give up cartridge? I don't know. We'll go with that. Is it emit? We say emit. I know I've done it up here just a little bit. Emit signal, there we go. Nice. And then we're going to have the... And right now, if we do that, it should just delete it. That should be all that happens, just deletes it. So we've removed the child. So let's just test that before we go too far afield, right? So go like this. And let's put a round in there. Oh, okay, I deleted it on accident. Yeah, they're just all deleting once they get to that point. That's no good. Okay, so we've got a couple options here. Because we actually want to be able to have it turn this corner, and it's going to touch this position. And if it does, right now it just thinks that it's on the way out this way. So we could do a couple things. We could look at the direction it's moving and have that be how it determines whether it removes it or not. Or we can just make it simple and have the actual removal point be a little bit further out, like out here. Look at my beautiful bullet drawing skills. Okay. There'd be another point, like point C out here, where it actually removes it along the travel. So a different Z variable. And then where we clamp it, where we clamp it, we can actually have it just be a little bit further beyond that point. So let's do this. So what do we want to call this intermediate point? We call it the corner. And say if it goes 3 millimeters past that, or 5 millimeters past it, or who knows. Sure. And then we can clamp it to this. Yeah, totally. I don't know if it lets you link a video in the chat, but paste it in. Or even just the video ID if it doesn't let you do a video link. Let's see. Horizontal slider length meters. So we can clamp it here. The only thing we're going to have to change is, do we reference this at all over here? We don't. Okay, this might work. This might work. Okay, it didn't delete itself. That's good. Okay, and now if we pull it out, it should delete itself. Yes. Okay, that's more what we wanted. Right? So down and in, that's fine. That works. But then if we pull it back out again, pop! It pops it out. That's cool. Let's check the log. I'm getting some errors about knots. Okay, what's that cartridge array length? Uh-oh. we're not correctly calling our length function. Let's see. How's that log statement working? Oh yeah, no, it didn't send the link. It didn't send the link. Like, I wonder if you send like just like the video code, you know, like just the last 12 letters of the link kind of thing. It might allow you to do that. Wonder if there's an option that I can change on the stream that allows links. Maybe someday I'll figure that out. Oops. Yep. So, let's see. Give up cartridge. I think that's a fine name. Give up cartridge. Emit signal, give cartridge. So then on the player, we want another function here. Oh. Oh, I'm in the wrong account, that's why. Uh-oh. Did I goof up the, Oh, there we go. No, we're still going. We're still going. I think. I just lost my page. There, we got it. All right, I'm just losing my tab. You said you did send it like that. Yeah, I didn't let it send that way either. Weird. Well, that's my email, so you could just email me the link too if you wanted. Sweet. All right. Sweet. All right. Let's copy this function. Like that. So we're going to have a different event here for on magazine give cartridge. Like that. And this is going to do this. Because we're kind of like handing off the drag responsibility. And okay, so player receives from magazine. This all gets very complicated. Okay. Cartridge disconnect. No, we want to actually connect. Nice, sweet. Thank you, thank you. I'll keep an eye out for it in my chat. I mean, my email. Hey, there we go. I got it. It went to my spam, but I got it. Nice. Ah. Ah. That's actually really sick. Nice. I get it, I get it. Very cool. Very cool. Thanks for showing me. Sorry it was a hassle to send it through the chat. But that's really cool. Because then is that a 2D image, or is it like a 2D sprite? Here, I should watch that one more time. Because, like, is this... This is like a 2D object in Godot, I suppose, yeah. And then it converts it. Very cool. Green arrow for like the spawn point. You link the switches to the gates they control. Sweet. Alright. So tile map with auto tiling. Gotcha. Sure, sure. And then it's switching them from 2D tiles to 3D tiles. Yeah, eventually like, if I do anything with, like, buildings, I'll need some kind of, whatever, like library of floors and walls and stuff to start smacking together into building interiors. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Occlusion, all that fun stuff. Maybe I'll just keep my levels simple enough that I don't have to worry about optimizing them too much. One thing at a time. Magazine gift cartridge. Okay, so on magazine gift cartridge, start dragging on it, print this, connect that, add the child, and then we don't need to call this method. But what we do need to do is we actually need to connect this signal up to the magazine. So this is the function where we create the magazines. Here we go. I should really call this like create magazines or something, but it's fine. So let's see. We're gonna connect one more signal here. Oh, ask give on cartridge give, on magazine give. Okay, so hopefully now we can put a cartridge in the magazine and then take it back out. That would be the hope. And let's try it. So we can put it in. So far so good. Move it around even. Great, that's pretty cool. Can we take it back out? Kind of, yeah, it's not oriented correctly, but yes. Otherwise it works fine. Okay, that hitbox is way too big. But yeah, we got it back. It's not twisted in the right way anymore. So we'll have to fix that, but that's fine. We'll figure that out later. Yeah, and okay, there's a couple problems. So we put it in. That's great. We take it out. It's okay. Let's shift this over a little bit. That's kind of, the gun is getting in our way. Oh no, it isn't. It's putting it right in the middle every time. That's why. That's why. We're not saving the position. Yeah, okay. We need to... We could do a couple things. We could use like the make top level function, and that would just put it at the top level, but then it would no longer be parented to the player. We need it to be parented to the player. But we need, for that moment, we need to put it in its same position. Right. We could put it... We could have like a position 3D that's kind of like the exit point of the magazine, where like the bullets come out of it, or or we could pass a transform when we have this give cartridge method, right? So if we look at that, let's try it that way. I think I kind of want to go about it that way. So cartridge, and then we say, let's remove that. I don't know which we want to do first. Maybe we could save it in a variable, because it's not going to have any position information after we delete it, right? Global position. Is it global transform? Let's double check. You might tell me before I look it up. There we go. I was gonna say, I've looked this up before. It is just global position. Global transform. Yeah, you're right, you're right. Nice. Sweet. Cartridge global transform. Remove child cartridge. So at that point we've blown it up, but we've already saved that off. Now I don't know if we blow it up if if this is just by reference, so it'll remove that, but we'll find out. Boom. And so then if we go here, actually we should be documenting. Give cartridge. Like that. I don't think we need that for it to work, but I think we're supposed to. I think that's the weirdest part about Godot. The global versus local transform are the signals and the signal parameters being the weird part. Let's see. Being used to position everywhere it suddenly is. Transform. Oh yeah, like the transforms being like the 3 coordinate like XYZ things. Yeah, that's a good point. Like the whole non-Euclidean gimbal lock, all that funkiness. Yeah. I definitely don't fully understand it. I just know enough to be dangerous. Let's see. Cartridge connect. Magazine give cartridge in the player. Magazine give cartridge. Okay, here we go. So this now actually takes an extra argument for global transform. So we add the child, and then we say cartridge. I don't know if this is going to work. We might have to, like, clone the position. But we're about to find out. We're about to find out. Just have to play with the slide because that's too cool not to do. Alright, so we put this cartridge in. Great. And now we take it out, and hopefully when we pop it out of here, right, so it's about to pop out, right, it's just right on the cusp of popping, right? When we take it out, hopefully it stays kind of in the same general area of the screen. That's the hope. And hopefully it will also be rotated correctly at this point too. Right? We'll see. It worked! It worked! That worked! Oh, that was cool. That was cool. Do it again, do it again. Okay. Right? It goes in. It comes out. It goes in. Now it's parented to the magazine, right? It's in the magazine, you know? And now we pop it out. Pop! Look, it doesn't even feel like it went flying. You know? Put it in. Ta-da! Awesome. Okay. Yeah, and we mean, this is gonna, there's a lot more work to do, because now we need, after we put it in, if we put another one in, right? Right now they just overlap. So we need to do stuff like compress the spring. We need the spring to compress. We need to move all the other cartridges down as we put more cartridges in. All sorts of things. But I'm just gonna let's play a game with the revolver just for a second. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We're gonna have to rewrite this. Maybe that'll work. There we go. Alright. Just to remember that we do actually have a weapon that works already. So now, putting the rounds in the cylinder for the revolver, I'm gonna eventually want to make that more like putting rounds in the magazine, where you can like slide them in and out. But we just wanted to get an MVP. We wanted to make this work, for starters, so we can actually shoot it. There we go. Oh, I missed. Boop. Boop. Do I still have one more bullet? Yes, I do. Oh, I still have one more. Can I see that little one over there? Nope, I think I shot the tree. Right, yeah. So, the goal now is to add a couple more weapons, which is tricky, because now we've got to have, like, abstractions around, you know, the player should be able to use either a revolver or a semi-automatic or whatever. Like, there's trickiness to that. That's... There we go. Do I still have one more round? Yes, I have one more round. Hey, we win! 2 minutes 13. Alright, we could probably do it faster than that. That's okay. I'm probably going to take a break and go eat a bagel, so I'll let you get to sleep over there. I think that's a good break spot, because we've got the beginnings of this thing. We got cartridges going into the mag, and we got them going out of the mag. Look at that. That's pretty cool. So, thank you for saying hi. I really appreciate it. First person I've ever had on a stream. So, have a good night. Have a good night there. Cheers.